You're watching KATU News on Digital.
Good morning and welcome to today's Digicast. I'm Sarah Bagby and I am joined by Joe English again. Thanks for being
Hello.
here with me again.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me in.
Always a pleasure. I like having you here to help me with anything, whether maybe to learn this machine that I'm learning now.
I can't help you with that.
He won't push any of the buttons for me. But actually, I'm having you here today to talk about what happened over the weekend. This is an international story. You may all have heard about it, where Iran actually attacked Israel. I even have some video of it, so let's bring that up here. It's pretty intense. So Iran launched more than 100 ballistic missiles, 200 drones. 99% of the drones and missiles were actually intercepted by Israeli or U.S. or coalition forces, but that's kind of lucky. Only one young woman was injured, and we also had some damage to an Israeli air base. But the big story here is now what's the next step? You know, the whole world is waiting to find out if Israel will retaliate against Iran for this attack over the weekend. And this was a retaliation for what happened with an airstrike earlier this month that killed 2 Iranian generals in Syria. So there's a lot going on here. And I know that, Joe, you were covering this morning, sort of the local reaction to this, right?
Right. You have to remember, not that you don't remember, but when something like this happens anywhere around the world, there's always ramifications and repercussions and a ripple effect that will make its way even into the Pacific Northwest. We've seen that happen before with other events that end up turning into a protest on the street of Portland. So, you know, of course, we wanted to talk to the people who are most directly affected by this, and we turned to Bob Horenstein, who is with the Jewish Federation of Greater Portland. Mentioned a couple of really critical things. For one, his wife, who lives here in Portland with him, has family in Israel, and they had to take shelter when this attack started. And it's really, for most of us, almost impossible to believe, certainly to even have empathy or sympathy and feel the effect of this being in any kind of a war zone. Whether you are there directly or you have family in that situation, and knowing the fear and the frustration that is going on. And so that is something that he was talking about with his wife, who has really said she's been living in fear since the Hamas attacks in October. And now this kind of thing continues to happen, so obviously it's not getting better. The other point is that, well, people don't like what's going on over there, and will they take that out on somebody here? Will a group who sees things another way decide that they need to do something to the other people who see something the other way? And there is some concern that that kind of thing is going to happen. So that's what Mr. Horenstein was telling us about over the weekend events.
I actually have that quote we got from him, so
Okay.
Let's play that now.
The Jewish community, to some extent, is feeling helpless, abandoned. There's been such a rise in anti-Semitism since October 7th nationally, and we see things locally.
And that's another part of the story, of course, just that general theme of anti-Semitic theme that may have seemingly nothing to do with this direct missile attack, but other people who just have hard feelings and want to take it out on somebody. So that there are those rising reports of anti-Semitic acts. That's another layer to it that the Jewish community here locally has to be concerned with.
Yeah, that's really, because we've been having this issue since October in the universities, the colleges, and we think we're, in a bubble in Portland, but no, it's a huge issue everywhere. So
no, not at all. And something that Mr. Hornstein did throw in there was that he himself would like to see a direct action from Israel, but he is concerned, depending on what that action is, that will spur on somebody else to take action here locally, but he would like to see something done. And that, of course, is what the world is waiting for right now, to see what happens next, what step either side will take.
Right, and now Biden has said he will not help with any counterstrike. We know that. So we know that much, but that's all we know. So we're going to be obviously keeping everyone informed on this. And Joe, thank you so much for telling us what you learned
You're very welcome.
locally and how this impacts us locally in town.
You bet.
Thank you very much. And I have another story for you. It involves Wright. We have Wright nearby, so we're going to switch you out. Thanks again, Joey. We have Wright Gazaway here, and we have another story that he's been covering, and this is kind of an exclusive story that only KATU is covering. KATU is on your side. Wright, this is a really nearly a decade-long effort here for a new water filtration system or plant in town. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, well, and I will just say that there are some other outlets covering this, and they're doing some good work too. So I don't want to take too much credit on this topic, but this is something we've been following for a while. The city back in 2017 made plans to build this water filtration facility out in East Multnomah County. And really since then, the people who live around this project have been putting up a huge fight. They do not want it in their community. They say the construction and the facility itself will disrupt their neighborhood, their farming community. There are some school districts out there pushing back, even the fire department. A lot of people that are fighting this project. So we talked to them. We also talked to the city about why they need to do this project. And we're bringing both sides tonight, but it is hugely controversial.
So one question I had for you is we know that the neighbors around this facility are upset about maybe the damage to the neighborhood. How was this a particular property chosen for this project?
That was what we asked the city. So the city bought this property back in the 70s, 1975, so almost 50 years ago. And there's some controversy about how they acquired the land, according to the people who live out there. It was leased to a farmer for at least the last few years. So there was farming going on this land for a while. The city says that the filtration facility needs to be gravity fed in order to be the most reliable. So that really limits where they could put it. It needed to be somewhere at a certain elevation around their existing infrastructure where they could build the pipes and get the water to and from the facility without requiring too much electricity. If the power goes out, then the facility would have some problems. So they said the big point is it needed to be close to their existing infrastructure, and then it needed to be at an elevation where they could maintain the gravity-fed nature of the system.
I see. So it's not like you have the entire city to choose from. It's very, very specific, all of the criteria that has to be met.
For this particular facility, the people who live out there say there are other places, and then the city did look at other places as well. Powell Butte, I know, is one. But yeah, that's the city's perspective. Is there's a minimal part of the city or part of the county that we can put this project in, and this one ticked all the boxes. I will say we went out there. It is a long way off the main roads. It is really out there in the country, so to speak. So it's not by any means super convenient. It's a drive off 84.
It kind of sounds like no matter where the place was chosen, the people in that area who are living there are maybe not going to be happy about it, no matter where they chose.
Well, they're not, and there are some of them out there who are Portland Water customers, but for the most part, they're not Portland Water customers, so they really won't even benefit from the project. But the roads are very narrow. It's a small farming community, and they say all the trucks that'll come there for construction, all the trucks that'll come there to keep the facility running are going to be hugely disruptive. And the city is going to have to do some road improvements out there to get the roads even up to code, or up to the capability for the trucks that will be required to come in there. So they're really concerned about the disruptions that the construction will cause, and that's a years-long process as well. But then they have concerns about the facility itself, and they don't want to live around it.
So I also know that this is a huge expense. At one point it was $500 million. Now we're talking $2 billion. 10 years later.
Yeah, that's the
Is
problem.
the expense partly the infrastructure changes and roadways and all that needs to make it fit?
There's a lot, and I didn't say on that other point. I mean, the city says they'll be a good neighbor. They understand those complaints, and they're going to work with the people out there. It's hard to tell whether they're going to ever get on the same page here. But the city at least says we hear their concerns, and we're trying to work around them. On the cost, the city blames it on the 2017 $500 million cost was pre-COVID, pre a lot of issues, and then they came back actually a couple years later. It was bumped up to $850 million because they left out some pipes, some pretty crucial pipes in the project that were not included in that original estimate. And if you go back and watch these city council meetings, every time they come to city council, there's some frustration with, man, we approved this at $500 million, and now it's bump. It keeps going up. So the city blames it, A, on inflation, the supply chain issues that have been happening over the last couple of years, and then just taking the project actually out to market and getting bids is what's driving up the cost as well. So they say that, you know, putting it out on the competitive market, there's a lot of competition for these jobs, for the labor, that's driving it up. But yes, the opponents of this project that are fighting it legal, you know, through the legal means and fighting it through their land use, that's adding to the cost. The location of it, certainly, there's changes they've got to make and improvements they got to make that are adding to the cost. So they cannot promise that this 2.1 billion figure is the end either.
Yeah, more
So-
variables come into play, right?
Certainly, because there's no ground's been broken, so there's a long way to go.
Well, with that said, you did meet with the city, and we do have a quote from when you met with them. So let's take a listen to that.
We build filtration. It's when we build filtration, because we will need it soon.
We've learned so much about our community and the things that we value here, and it's made us that much more excited about fighting Goliath.
What a great way to put it, Goliath.
They are those two women are just two of a few people out there, not just a few, two of the people who are fighting this project. And I asked them, I mean, you're going up against the city of Portland, and there's not that many people that live out there, but they feel like they've got a lot of people on their side. They've got good advocates and some of the other opponents, and they've appealed this to the state. Multnomah County's Land Use Board, they approved it, so they approved the use of this land for this project, and they're appealing that decision to the state. And that decision could come down as late as the end of the year.
Oh.
So the city says they're going to go ahead and start construction because they have a permit to do it, and then the state decision will come down sometime later this year on whether they can. So they could start construction theoretically, and then the state could come say, you can't build this facility here.
Yeah, like break ground tomorrow
Yeah.
and then stop it
They
months
could.
later.
They say there are avenues they can take after that to appeal it. And I do want to get into real quick, if we I don't want to get too
Please.
long-winded, but this project goes back to the Clean Water Act, and the federal government makes cities, municipalities that have certain water sources treat their water for cryptosporidium, which is a parasite found in water, and Portland got a variance for several years. They were one of the only places in the U.S. that got that. And there was a cryptosporidium outbreak where the feds and OHA basically came back and said, okay, no more variance. You need to treat your water for crypto. The city decided to use filtration to treat the crypto. There are other ways to do it, and that's what these critics want them to do, is pull the plug on this project and treat cryptosporidium with UV or with a cheaper alternative that won't be so disruptive to our community and isn't so costly. The state and city are in an agreement that the city will get filtration online by September 30th, 2027. And in that agreement, they've agreed to filtration. Now, that agreement can be amended if both sides agree. So the city's basically saying, we have to do this. We're in this agreement. We're moving forward. We have to do that. The critics say there's more wiggle room than the city's leading on, because that agreement can be amended with OHA, and there are alternatives to treating crypto besides just filtration. The city says filtration provides more benefits than just treating crypto. It can get sediment and other things out of water. So it does a lot more than just treat crypto. And these critics are saying you just need to treat crypto, the parasite. I don't want to get too in the weeds on this, but so that's what critics are saying, is that you can meet federal requirements a cheaper and different way that won't disrupt our community.
Sounds like it could be a little better overall in the long run if they do this original plan. But if we do the original plan, we make people angry. So maybe we could do something else that other systems do.
Yeah, and that's what this with the women you heard from say was, hey, treat crypto with this UV. Do it somewhere else, and then find another place to build your filtration facility. Don't build it in our neighborhood. That's their alternative. The city's saying it'll never be cheaper than it is today. The longer we wait, the more it'll cost, and we'll need filtration at some point in the future. And then the whole other issue is how this is going to affect the water bills of Portland water users, which we get into as well, because that's going up as well.
Ask that. Yeah, because I'm thinking not only are you, well, the cost of water, which is another issue already that we're all dealing with, our utility bills going up as it is. I was wondering is there any concern that the water isn't clean right now, or is everything okay until
the water's clean
27?
right now. Yeah, the water's clean right now, and they check. Part part of this agreement with OHA is they have to check the water for cryptosporidium, and we get emails. You might, if you go Google, search your inbox, you'll see them now because I saw them for a while, where the cities does its cryptosporidium checks. There was an outbreak in not too long in the past where the city had to switch to a well source until they could get the cryptosporidium. It occurs at different levels. It's not a continuous thing. It has to do with animal carcasses or different things that might get into the waterway, but it's not something that's always present in the water, in other words. So the city tests for it periodically. When it hits and it's in the water, then they figure out what they're going to do. But the water is safe, and that's what the city is saying. The water is safe. It's checked. And when they have these crypto outbreaks, they tell people, hey, we're moving to well water. They also tell people who are immunocompromised or who are in the high risk to talk to their doctor about what they should do for water consumption.
And that would be my next question is what is the risk? It just makes people really sick? Do we have, can it be fatal?
And there's so much to this story. We can't do it all in one story. We even say that. So we didn't even get into really the health risk of cryptosporidium. But yeah, just it can I don't want to speak. I'm not an expert necessarily on the medical side, but yeah, it can cause diarrhea and different things.
Obviously, they've done enough research to know that we just shouldn't have it in our water, right?
Yeah, so it depends on how old you are, what your what your immune situation is. But it's definitely dangerous and it needs to be treated. That's not really what's at issue here. The issue here is how the city's choosing to do it.
Yeah.
And it will affect our water bills over the next 5 or 6 years. Your water bills will go up 36 to 40%.
If we do this particular project that's maybe going to be in place.
Correct. And that's the thing. So like this year, the water bill went up 8%. About a third of that is to pay for the project. About a third of that is just due to inflationary costs on the Bureau. They pay a power bill that's gone up. And then the other third is for just other capital projects. So the city says, and the question is, okay, the project's gone up so much, how can they really guarantee that these 8% rates will stay, 8% raises will stay in place? And they say basically that capital projects, they're kicking some of those down the road to,
So it won't go up later when the project actually happens.
Yeah, so they're able to take some
it's kind of nice to know we're paying it now.
Yeah,
if
well,
it happens.
It'll take, they said last week, 25 years to pay off the project, to pay off the facility.
Through people's utility bills and whatnot.
And they're looking for different funding sources. But yeah, it'll take about 25 years to pay off. There's some federal loans the city got that have pretty low interest, which helps them, they say, control the costs a bit. But I mean, we'll see over the next few years. I did ask, can you guarantee to Portland water users that your bill won't go up more than 8%? And, next year they might say, oh, we need to go up 15%.
Yeah.
And they say they're taking steps to not allow that to happen.
All right,
by managing their other projects.
It sounds like everyone's got good intent out there. Everyone involved. It's just that we all need to find middle ground.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, hugely controversial, so I don't see it going away.
I'm so glad you came in and tell us about it. I didn't even know all of the little details, so thank you so much,
you
Ray.
bet. Yeah,
and you'll be following up on this weekly?
For sure.
All right,
so it's first story tonight, and there's definitely a lot more to look into.
Okay, great. So. Well, thanks again. I know you're super busy, so
you
go off and do what you need to do.
Finish the story.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, that was Wright Gazaway, everyone, and thank you again to Wright for telling us about that. I wanted to talk about another topic that I think you all might know about, taxes. Today was tax day, so I don't know what you did all weekend. A lot of people spent a lot of their weekend just working on taxes. I know I did. So we're going to talk about that. It turns out a lot of people kept it for last minute, and you weren't the only one. Apparently this year, tax preparers were just slammed with calls from people who waited to the last minute to file. And one rep from IRS says you want to be really smart with what you do with your refund, and I thought this was good advice.
Some money towards debt payoff, especially credit card debt, because that's likely your highest cost debt. Maybe carve out a little fun money while you're at it too. I mean, we can't be all work and no play, right?
A little bit easier said than done. I'm not sure about you, but I didn't have a lot left over to pay off those credit card bills. But anyway, if you did not do your taxes, you can file an extension today. You can either finish them by this evening, or you can go on irs.gov and file your extension, and that gives you until October. But remember, you're still going to accrue interest unless you prepay your taxes. So just keep that in mind. Also want to talk to you about the weather. We have some good weather coming up. I'm going to bring it up for you. So this week we do have some, oh, I think I have the wrong thing going. Hold on a minute. Just learning how to do these buttons, everyone. Yeah, I don't know why it's not playing for you, but I can tell you the weather. Let me get myself on camera here. So we are looking at low pressure, which that means clouds. High pressure means a little more sunshine. We're looking at clouds today. That's going to stick with us for the next few days. Let me see if I can bring that up now. I'm trying really hard to bring you some weather. Yeah, something's wrong with my buttons. So yeah, wish I could show it to you, but the good news is by about Thursday, we're looking at full sunshine, 70-degree weather, and that's going to stick with us from Thursday into the weekend. So just remember, clouds, normal temperatures, a little bit cooler, but not cooler than average, just around 58, 60 degrees, and then we're going to go right up to 70 by Thursday. So good news there. Also want to tell you about another story we're talking about, and this is just going to be something we talk about tomorrow. We'll have Noelle back tomorrow, and we're going to have special guest Angelica Thornton with us. She's going to be giving us an update on Vicky. This is the one-legged homeless woman who's just trying to make it on the streets. She has her son with her, and we'll have another update on how she's doing. We've been trying to help get her off the streets, and Angelica has had some time with her, so she's going to fill us in on how that is going. In the meantime, we're going to take you out to your Monday. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope that you can join us again tomorrow. I'm going to leave you with a picture from our Skycam. This is from the standard camera looking out on downtown Portland, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone.
KATU News is on your side. This has been a KATU News Digicast. KATU News is on your side.
Why wouldn't my weather play?